Okay, so what I want to talk to you guys about today, I do have some frustrations that I feel like people in real estate don't really talk about. I would say that I started being interested in real estate about a year ago, just pretty much out the blue. And so once I had it in my mind, I told myself, okay, I'm going to save up within the past year, and then once I've saved up, start searching. I've been, looking on YouTube and watching different YouTube videos to see like what people do and like what their experience was when they decided to go the real estate route. And I just kind of noticed a theme of people constantly talking about, okay, yeah, so I found this house, the roof was bad, or we found mold, or like there were issues with pipes, this and that. But I didn't really find a lot of people talking about the backside. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I've lost 3 houses. Whenever I've asked coworkers or friends or family, about real estate and how long it took them to find their house, because a lot of the people that I know aren't really looking into starting in real estate investing. They just bought a house or condo or whichever and have settled in. So whenever I've asked people about that, they always say, yeah, it took months to find a place, if not a year, or, even years to find something. So I figured, okay, well, maybe it's not going to take me as long, since I'm just planning on investing, I may or may not live on the property. I'm just trying to get started, just to get my feet in the door. And I started to officially look in, I believe it was July, early August is when I started to officially hit the ground running and, get out there. I had settled on looking for a condo. There was a place that I found. I wasn't looking at like places that were already renovated. I was looking at places that, might need some work, in neighborhoods that, I researched that were up and coming. And so I found this condo. It was a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. There was already a tenant living there, no issues. I made an offer on the place, and everything was going smoothly, until all of a sudden the association just came out of nowhere and said that it would need to all of a sudden say that it needed to be cash offer, or I would need to live there and put 25% down. So that I didn't want to bother dealing with, and that was like my first frustration with an association, with condo buying, because it was just kind of frustrating that, to have found this place, going back and forth for about a week. Maybe I should have kind of saw a warning sign, since, they just accepted my offer without, any back and forth or anything like that. But I just figured, hey, maybe it was just a good offer. But that was kind of just like my first inkling, like that maybe there was just something weird about it. So I just told my realtor, that I don't want it to be a cash offer, because the question that I'd asked is, what was in their reserves? There was nothing there. So I'm kind of under the impression that they want an all cash offer because they want to use me and, my money for their reserves. Okay, so after that deal fell through with that initial property, me and my realtor would go see a property. Maybe I think about it overnight and then wake up like the next morning and it's already under contract. Or I would walk into a place, be disappointed. Another condo that I had a little bit of interest in, I was trying to be open-minded because there was only one picture online and it wasn't of the interior. But that was because it was tenant occupied. It took a couple weeks to be even able to go and take a look inside. And I looked inside. People talk about how, when you see a place, you'll get a feeling. And I just didn't really have a feeling. There was no feeling. It was really hot in the place and it was really steamy. And I'm not planning on living there, but, I'm just trying to envision, certain things. It was hot, the paint was chipping off, the ceiling had been cracked, and for the price range that it was, it just kind of felt like it was a bit high for the amount of potential work that could be put into it. That was, my first look at seeing how sometimes a tenant can get in the way when you're trying to sell a property. Because like I said, it took weeks. The tenant kept changing the schedule as to when they were free for us to come in and take a look. And then we get in, and I mean, there were some things that I just didn't care for, but the place wasn't in bad shape. Recently, I had found another condo. Because like I said, I had been looking at, places over and over again. And another one of the first ones that I had looked at, I wasn't really super interested yet. I didn't want to make an offer because this is one of like the first 3 condos that I had looked at. So I didn't want to make an offer on like the first one that I looked at because I didn't know what else was out there. It wasn't that bad, but I just wasn't sure yet about if the area was really an up and coming area, or if it was, things were going to stay stagnant, if I could charge the amount of rent that I wanted to charge to make up my mortgage and to still have a profit. So I want to keep looking. Of course, after you look at like 10 places, 15 places, you're like, oh, okay, this one, it's not so bad. The carpet doesn't look great, but that's okay. The closet's kind of small, but I could just, tear down a wall and make it a little bit bigger, right? I could remodel the kitchen, like you really do start getting creative once you kind of start feeling antsy. And I'm not the most patient person, so that kind of maybe started happening quickly, I don't know. So for this place, I decided to make an offer. They quickly accept it, and then again, come to find out that it would have to be owner occupied for the first year before I can rent it out. And I asked my realtor, like, where the hell did this come from? And he said the association all of a sudden decided to mention it. So now this is at least the second time that I've made an offer on a place and it hasn't, come through. And, so I'm starting to feel really frustrated. And so I was just like, okay, you know what? We're going to start focusing on 2 flats and single family homes, because it just seems like what people again don't really talk about is, condos. The association can be a bitch. Like, and they all of a sudden, like, they'll want to sell a property and they're just not transparent. They're not transparent about what it is, or I think that they, want to keep the owner occupancy at a certain level. So that was really frustrating. So I told my realtor we're going to start looking at 2 flats and single family homes and seeing what's out there. So I find this 2 flat in an area that could be up and coming, but it's not an established area. It's nearby established areas, but I'm not, even if it wasn't up and coming, I wouldn't necessarily say that for the price I would feel like I overpaid. It was an auction property and the people who bought it fixed it up. And you could tell the kitchens looked really nice. The flooring, looked nice, even though it was, laminate flooring, but it still looked really good. The coloring was good. The neighborhood wasn't, too bad. And like I said, it was 2 flats, so both levels it was nice. The only downside I would say were the closets were kind of small and the yard, needed a little bit of work. But even so, I would have, made a pretty reasonable offer. And again, literally the next day after seeing that, it all of a sudden went under contract. It just sucks that they're willing to show you a property even though they already have another offer. And I wasn't trying to really barter or, ask what other offer it was. I'm just still looking for that right one. I looked at another 2 flat, and this is in an area that's up and coming / established. A lot of places, could go for a pretty penny. And online, of course, this 2 flat looked pretty nice, and inside it looked dated, but for the most part it looked pretty cosmetic. So I go and check this place out yesterday, and I thought I was almost at the wrong house. In all honesty, I was just like, well, shit, those pictures are probably like 2 years old, because right away you could see the front porch had a big ass hole in it on the stairs, and they just threw like some whatever metal sheet on it. The door, the screen door, was glass, and you could tell that there was a spot knocked out from it, so that he can open the door. And then when my realtor grabs the keys, which honestly there was almost no point in even putting the keys there, because once he unlocked the door and pushed it, it was slightly off its hinges. But I'm like, okay, we'll see what I'm walking into. I'll try and keep an open mind, because it's, a good neighborhood. It's a diverse neighborhood. People are investing in this neighborhood, so I'm staying pretty open-minded. We walk in, and my realtor told me that the utilities, the seller's not going to turn them on, so we're just using our phones as flashlights. So yeah, it's October. Halloween is coming up, so this is just definitely, a haunted house vibe going on. Because as we walk in, the stairs going up to the second floor was missing boards. And me and my realtor both agreed that, okay, so that's probably not even safe to go up there. You could see on the ceiling that there was some condensation. They looked wet. So it was just like, what the hell is going on upstairs? But there wasn't really a smell. Like, it smelled old, but it didn't smell moldy. It didn't smell damp. So I was really surprised by that. My realtor tried to open a door, and it was locked or jammed or whatever. I don't know. We keep walking through the house, and there's just plaster on the floor in this one area of, I guess it'd be like the living room. And then we look up, and you could tell that there was plaster just falling off from the ceiling. But I didn't see any like black mold or anything like that. So I'm not exactly sure how recent this place started to fall apart. But it definitely was a mess. The amount that I would pay, I'd have to put twice, if not more, to fix it up. I just didn't feel comfortable at the stage that I'm at now with no experience, jumping in and getting myself into that. We leave, and as we're looking up, I noticed that on the second floor that all the windows are propped open, maybe by like 3 inches. And so that definitely, answers the question as to why it didn't really smell moldy or anything like that, because it's been propped open. So whatever the hell they have going on upstairs, they're, trying to hide it. So at this point, because like I said, I've been looking, I've been looking for about 3 months. So, and this was another place that I was really looking forward to seeing, and then walking in there, dark, having to use my phone as a flashlight, and then seeing just plaster, way more than just, an old dingy carpet, and old furniture. Just, things were just falling apart. And I was really waiting for there to be, like a raccoon or something hiding around the corner. Just to see all that, I'm starting to kind of feel, I don't even feel disappointed anymore. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, so this is just kind of what the process is going to look like. Then it starts to become pretty deterring, because like I said, when I was looking on YouTube, I didn't really see a lot of people talking about how, the whole process of finding that right property. I just wanted to, make a video that discussed it. Then today, again, this is a single family home, marked pretty cheap. Just the one picture of the front of it, but it was, owner occupied. So at least, it was livable, that I went to go see today. And I drove about an hour, because I'm looking at properties that aren't really near where I live right now. And another place that I'm looking forward to, I'm just kind of getting to the point where it's like, I just hope I find a place that I can make an offer and then start getting to work on it, because winter's coming up, and I'm clearly not going to I probably won't be able to fix up a place and find a tenant in time before winter hits like I had originally been hoping. So I'm heading to this place. And I get there, my realtor, he texts me on the way there that he got there a little early. He's standing there talking to this woman, and as I'm walking up, she goes, inside. And so I'm like, okay. And he kind of was saying, so they don't want to let us in right now. They don't want to let us in today. And this can kind of be a red flag as to, some unforeseen issues, if it's tenant occupied, and if you end up getting this place. And so I was saying, did they say why they don't want to let us in right now, this and that? And he's like, no, she just went in and closed the door. He said he's been trying to call the realtor for this property all, since he arrived, and the realtor's not answering. And while I was standing next to him, he called and left a voicemail. And I don't know. I don't even know if up until now, that was hours ago, I don't even know if up until now the realtor ever responded to his calls and text and voicemail. After a couple minutes, somebody eventually comes out and was like, yeah, so we're not able to show you the property today because we're having issues with our bathroom, and we're working on remodeling it right now, so we won't be able to show you for another week. I traveled all this way just to have to deal with another obstacle, basically. Just frustrated to have to go back to the drawing board and start over again, and look at properties and think about, well, am I going to have to make my budget a bit bigger? Is it worth the aggravation? Am I just being impatient? Because like I said, this is about my third month. I just think that maybe people, when they did try and start, there wasn't much discussion about it. So hopefully this video helps people trying to get into real estate. So yeah, and I think that I'm just going to continue on my journey. Hopefully I do find something before winter. If not, then I guess it'll just have to continue on to next year. So have a good night, guys.